This story shows how betrayal can be calculated, hidden in plain sight, and how discovering the truth can be both devastating and liberating. Sometimes, the most powerful moment isn't confrontation, it's reclaiming your life. Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me. The ceiling fan was still spinning when she came in. She froze in the doorway, clutching her shoes like a thief, one heel still dangling from her hand. Her mascara had smudged just slightly beneath one eye, not enough to ruin her look, but just enough to suggest that something had been erased tonight. Maybe a line, maybe a promise. She didn't expect the light to be on. She didn't expect the wine glass on the table, still full, untouched, just like I left it hours ago. And she definitely didn't expect me to be standing in the hallway, arms crossed, holding the receipt from the gas station where she'd said she ran in real quick around 9:30 p.m. Only this receipt was timestamped 2:04 a.m. And it wasn't even from our side of town. Darcy, I said, calmly, like the world wasn't currently shattering underneath my bare feet. Did you take the scenic route home? Or? She blinked. Once, twice, then made a small noise in her throat, like she was preparing a sentence that required careful assembly. Behind her, the door was still cracked open. The night air whispered against her back. I could smell her perfume, something heavy and new, not the kind I used to find tucked behind the bathroom mirror. She finally stepped inside. Then I saw it, the necklace. Tiny, gold, not hers. We didn't speak. We just stared at each other for a moment that felt like the deepest breath before drowning. And I realized then, this wasn't the first time. It was just the first time she got caught. What she didn't know, couldn't have known, was that I'd already been to the hotel. I'd already talked to the front desk. I'd already seen the footage. But I needed to see her face when she lied to me. I needed to watch her build the lie with her bare hands. Because I wanted to know who she became when the truth wasn't watching. She set her heels down softly. Her voice came out soft, shaky. Elliot, I can explain. I shook my head. No, I said. This time I'll talk. You listen. And what I told her next. It changed everything. She opened her mouth again, probably to spin something soft, some half-formed excuse wrapped in trembling guilt. But I raised my hand before a single word could crawl out. Don't lie, I said, quieter than I intended. Not tonight. There was a long, almost sacred silence between us. Sacred like the moment after a fire burns down a house, and all that's left is the smoke. And somewhere in that silence, I saw it, the part of her that knew I knew. Her eyes did this twitchy thing they only do when she's cornered, and then her hands, the same ones that used to write me sticky notes about picking up oat milk, were now fiddling with the mystery necklace like it might give her an alibi. I walked past her slowly, deliberately, and closed the front door myself. Not because I was worried about anyone seeing, but because I didn't want the night air diluting what was about to happen. I should tell you something. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always cold or sharp or suspicious. I used to leave her love notes in her coat pocket before winter. I used to warm her side of the bed when she stayed late at work. But the past few months had turned something inside me brittle. I'd been shrinking in my own house, like some ghost version of myself just drifting from room to room while she got better at hiding, better at smiling through it, better at coming home with other people's perfume clinging to her skin like secrets. You left your location on, I finally said, leaning against the wall beside the hallway mirror, the one we bought at that antique market in Vermont when things still felt permanent. Did you know that? On your phone. It pinged from the Briarfield Motel at 11:42. She didn't speak. Her face dropped, just slightly, like someone pulled a wire loose inside her. That's not a gallery, Darcy, I added. Unless they started hanging art above vending machines. She exhaled hard, then muttered, It's not what you think. That line. Every person who ever cheated in the history of time must get handed that phrase with their hotel key. I turned, stared at her. The red lipstick had faded, but not completely. Her wrist still bore the light crease of a bracelet that wasn't there now. And her hair, usually in a tight bun after long work days, was loosely tousled, freshly tousled. Then tell me what it is, I said. Tell me why I called your boss and found out you weren't scheduled for anything tonight. Tell me why there's a strange phone number on our cell bill. And tell me why, for the past 6 weeks, I've been watching you fall out of love with me one eye twitch at a time. She finally sat down on the edge of the couch, slowly, like her knees might buckle otherwise. Then she looked at me with those same green eyes I fell for in a cramped college bookstore 7 years ago. Only now they looked older, heavier, like they'd been carrying something I hadn't noticed. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. Her voice cracked on happen. That's the moment my heart didn't just break. It shifted. Because suddenly, I didn't feel pain. I felt curiosity. Curiosity about how far this went. Curiosity about who the other person was. Curiosity about whether I was ever truly loved, or just a placeholder until something more exciting wandered into her DMs. "I believe you," I said. "That you didn't mean for it. But you kept meaning it. Every text, every visit, every kiss. That wasn't an accident." And that's when her eyes widened. Because she knew. She knew I had more. She just didn't know how much I knew. What she didn't realize, and what I hadn't yet told her, was that I wasn't the only one watching. There was someone else. And they had video. She didn't even ask what I meant. Didn't flinch. Just stared at the floor like it might open up and swallow her whole if she kept pretending it was interesting enough. And for a second, I wondered how many lies a person could juggle before something dropped. Before they forgot what they'd already admitted. Before they forgot who they were lying to. But I wasn't interested in her tears tonight. I was done with the dramatics, the apologies, the "it just happened" garbage. I wasn't some plot device in her sad little love triangle. I was the husband she promised forever to, and I had receipts now. Literally and otherwise. "I talked to someone," I said. "Someone who works nights. Someone who recognizes faces." Her fingers tensed slightly around the edge of the couch cushion. Subtle, but I caught it. "The Briarfield has cameras," I continued, slowly walking past her. "Above the vending machines. In the parking lot. At the entrance. And one pointed right at room 214. Silence. "You didn't see it, did you?" I said. "You were too busy kissing him in the doorway." She finally looked up at me. Eyes wide. Mouth parted like she might say something that mattered. But nothing came out. "I have the footage," I said. "On a flash drive." I didn't even have to ask twice. The guy at the front desk said it happens a lot there. Married people. People who smile too much when they check in under fake names. Still, she said nothing. Not even a whisper of denial. And that's when I said the thing I didn't even know I'd been holding in all night. "I don't think this is about love," I told her. "I think this is about escape. And I think you got caught up in the idea of being someone else." Then I leaned in close, until I could smell the bourbon on her breath. "But now you get to be who you really are," I whispered. "Because I'm done pretending I don't see you." I dropped the flash drive on the coffee table in front of her and walked away. Not out the door. Not yet. But away from the version of myself that kept giving her the benefit of the doubt. The version that let her rewrite reality just because she looked sad when she lied. But here's the kicker. She didn't even look at the flash drive. She just stared at me and said something I never expected. She didn't look at the flash drive. Didn't even blink. Instead, she did something that made the room tilt in a way I wasn't ready for. She laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It was small, hollow, like a dying wind chime caught in a breeze that didn't mean to be there. And then she looked up at me with this strange kind of pity in her eyes, like I was the one who didn't understand what was really going on here. "You think this is about some cheap motel hookup?" she said, her voice low, like she didn't want the walls to hear. "You think I just fell for some stranger with cologne and flattery?" She leaned forward slowly, resting her elbows on her knees, and something in her body language shifted. Her fear was gone. The guilt, too. She looked calm, cold, like a curtain had dropped and the real version of her had stepped out for the first time. "I didn't meet him at a bar," she continued. "I didn't meet him recently at all. I didn't say anything. Just waited. Because I knew whatever came next was going to burn. I've known him longer than I've known you." That sentence cracked something open inside me. My jaw clenched so tight I felt it in my ears. She had rewired my timeline, rewound my entire marriage in one sentence. "Longer than she's known me?" She nodded slowly, like she could see it land. "His name's Graham." I felt like I'd been punched in a dream. The kind where you can't move your arms fast enough to hit back. Graham. The name meant nothing to me, but her mouth shaped it with too much familiarity. Too much ease. We dated in college. Off and on. He moved overseas for a while. We always said we'd find each other again someday, and I guess we did. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't infatuation. This wasn't weakness. This was deliberate. And the worst part? She wasn't even trying to deny it anymore. She was trying to explain it, like it was a chapter in some tragic novel and not the active demolition of our life together. And what am I? I finally asked, my voice barely recognizable. What was I? She looked at me and said, "You were safety." That word. Safety. Like I was a fire escape or a backup plan. Like I was the padded cell she kept herself in until passion came knocking. I stepped back from her slowly, almost dizzy. All the arguments we never had. All the distance I had blamed on work stress. All the weekends she said she needed space or quiet. It wasn't me. It was always him, hiding behind every fake smile, every closed door, every gallery night that never happened. But here's what she didn't know. I had already found Graham. I met him on a Tuesday. That part still feels strange. Like it should have been a stormy Friday night or some dramatic moment with thunder in the background. But no, just a boring, gray Tuesday with too much wind and a half-eaten sandwich sitting in my passenger seat while I waited in the parking lot of the gym I knew he went to. I didn't even know what I was going to say when he came out. I had rehearsed 100 lines. Threats. Questions. Maybe even something stupid like, "Do you even know what you've done?" But none of that felt right when I saw him. He wasn't what I expected. Graham looked normal. So painfully, insultingly normal. Average height. Expensive running shoes. Hair that looked like it had taken too long to style. The kind of guy who always orders protein smoothies and talks over people at dinner. I don't know what I thought he'd be. Some mysterious stranger who stole my wife with raw magnetism? No. He looked like someone's smug older brother who never moved out of town. He didn't notice me at first. He walked to his car with earbuds in, scrolling his phone, probably texting her. And that's when I stepped out of mine and walked right up behind him. "Graham," I said. He turned, confused, a little startled, like he couldn't figure out if I was a coworker or someone selling solar panels. But when I said my full name, Elliot, I saw it. That flicker. Recognition, followed by immediate calculation. He knew who I was. He just hadn't expected to see me in the flesh. "You've got 5 minutes," I said. After that, I stopped being civil. He nodded, glanced around, like he wanted to make sure no one was filming this. Maybe he thought I was going to punch him in the jaw or smash his windshield. Honestly, I thought I might too. We walked a few steps away to the side of the lot, just past a row of cars baking in the midday sun. He leaned on the hood of his Jeep, arms folded, trying to look cool. I could tell he was nervous. "Good. She told me about you," he said first, like that was some kind of defense. I didn't know she was still married at first. "She is still married," I snapped. He flinched, but only slightly. I stared at him. This was the man who had slid into the cracks of my life, eaten up the silence between my wife's words, and made a home out of her lies. But looking at him up close, he didn't seem powerful. He seemed small, like he'd mistaken being chosen for being important. "Do you love her?" I asked. I don't even know why. He hesitated. "I think so." That was the wrong answer, because it wasn't a yes. It wasn't even a no. It was cowardice in a single sentence. He didn't love her. He loved the story he was living inside. The forbidden affair. The nostalgia. The second chance with the girl who left. But not her. Not really. "I'm not here to threaten you," I said finally. "But I need you to understand something. She won't choose you. Not really. You're just the part she couldn't let go of. I'm the life she built when she was done playing games." He opened his mouth, but I stopped him. "I've already seen the texts, the videos, the receipts, everything. So don't waste breath pretending it was anything but selfish." And then I left. I didn't look back. But what I didn't expect, what I couldn't have expected, was what would be waiting for me at home. Because when I walked back into the house, she was gone. And in her place was an envelope. What was inside changed everything. The envelope wasn't addressed. No name. No note. Just a plain, off-white thing sitting on the dining table like it had always belonged there. The chair was pushed out slightly. Her glass of water was half full. She had been here recently, maybe just minutes before I walked in. For a second, I didn't move. Something about it felt staged, too neat, too intentional. Like she knew exactly how I'd feel walking in and seeing it. And she wanted that feeling to last. I opened it slowly. Inside, there were only 2 things. A Polaroid photo and a key. The photo was old, at least 10 years. I recognized her immediately. She looked younger, carefree, wearing an oversized hoodie and no makeup. Sitting on a rooftop, holding a bottle of something cheap. Smiling at someone just out of frame. That someone was Graham. His arm was barely visible at the edge of the photo. but I knew it was him. I turned it over. On the back, in her handwriting, "We were never finished." The key was small, silver, worn, a number etched faintly into the top, 203. I didn't know what it opened. Not yet, but I knew what it meant. She hadn't just left. She had left with purpose. She wanted me to know there were still layers I hadn't uncovered, that this wasn't over, that this was still unfolding, and she wanted me to follow. The question was, why? I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the photo, flipping it over and over in my hand like it might suddenly give me more information. Like if I tilted it just right, the truth would drip off the edges. We were never finished. That phrase echoed in my head until it turned into something darker, something mocking. By noon the next day, I was standing in front of a door that looked like it hadn't been opened in months. Room 203. A rundown apartment complex on the east side of town, the kind of place you don't notice even when you drive past it every day. I almost didn't recognize it at first. It had a new coat of paint, but the windows were the same. One had a curtain that didn't quite cover the glass, a corner permanently curled upward like it was trying to see the street. I held the key in my hand for a full minute before using it. My palm was sweating. My mind was racing. Part of me still thought maybe this was a setup, that maybe she wanted to punish me somehow, show me something that would wreck me further. But I opened the door anyway, and I immediately understood what the key had unlocked. It wasn't just a room. It was a memory, one I didn't belong to. The apartment wasn't empty. It wasn't even abandoned. It was fully furnished, small, neat, lived in. Not recently, but not long ago either. The air still held a trace of her perfume. I knew it because it was the old one, the lavender scent she stopped wearing months ago. A small kitchen table had 2 chairs, one of them draped with a denim jacket I hadn't seen in years, hers. I stepped further in, careful like I was trespassing on sacred ground. On the dresser near the window was a framed photo. Not the one from our wedding, not even one from our life together. It was her and Graham, younger, sitting on a beach. The way she was looking at him in that photo, I had never seen that look. Not once. Not in our 6 years of marriage. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a place they met. This was a place they kept. They had built something here. A backup life. A hidden timeline that existed parallel to mine. Every late night, every team off-site, every moment she said she needed space to think, it had led here. But there was something else. A notebook on the nightstand. I picked it up, hands shaking, and flipped it open. Pages filled with her handwriting, dated entries, observations. The first few were innocent. Music lyrics, thoughts about her job. But as I kept turning the pages, the tone changed. Saw Elliot cry today. He thinks I don't notice when he does it in the shower. I tried to feel something last night with him. I really did. Why does guilt feel like boredom now? I dropped the notebook. I had read enough. I stumbled back into the hallway and leaned against the wall, breathing like someone had knocked the air out of me. She hadn't just cheated. She had documented the collapse. She had studied me, observed me like a subject. And worst of all, she hadn't even seemed conflicted about it. I left the apartment and didn't lock the door behind me. I didn't want to own any part of that place, not even the silence. But when I got back to my car, there was a note under my windshield wiper.